I'm here in Newaygo County walking along the busiest stretch of road that runs through town, kind of like a very famous American mobster did about 100 years ago. You might have heard of him. Al Capone, Scarface.
Talk about excitement at the county jail. It finally come to pass, and here's the proof.
A grainy black and white video with a clear and colorful image. Al Capone, sentenced to 11 years in prison in 1931.
It won't be long now before the world's most notorious gangster will be only an offensive memory.
Thrown behind bars, convicted for tax evasion after previously escaping prosecution for a number of other crimes, violent crimes, ones that constantly kept him on the run and sometimes brought him to West Michigan, or so the legend says.
What would he want to do with this place?
Newaygo County is a halfway point between Muskegon and Grand Rapids. It's a logical place to stop in running booze between here and all the points out in the country where he was supplying.
The 18th Amendment was ratified on January 16, 1919. 1 year and 1 day later, the country went dry. Prohibition made the manufacturing, transporting, or selling of alcohol illegal.
Which was a spectacular failure that gave rise to organized crime in the United States, primarily for the purposes of distributing alcohol.
And Capone was king. He was the co-founder and boss of an Italian-American organized crime syndicate called the Chicago Outfit. And he shipped and sold booze across the country. According to the History Channel, he was able to rake in $100 million a year. With that kind of operation, Capone had to get creative.
One of the other things that makes Newaygo attractive is the city was originally heated with coal, so there was a network of coal tunnels that ran under the streets and along the sidewalks that allowed for illicit hiding of alcohol and, you know, transporting of it and that sort of thing.
So back there,
Greg Slominski owns a sportswear store in Newaygo County.
watch your step.
And sure enough, in the basement are possible signs of what Stephen was talking about.
It's kind of creepy because it goes open all the way to the back.
Look at this reverse
Yeah. Why would they do
threshold
that
right
for a
here.
basement, you know?
and like blocked up spot right there. If there's a connector to the hotel, it's through there.
And the rumors don't stop there.
There's a lot of stories about him being in the area, a lot of local residents. Oh, my grandfather remembers seeing him. They saw him at the bar, they saw him at restaurants, they saw him, you know, in town. He was known to have had a cottage and a guest house in Gun Lake. There were rumors that there was a house in Berrien, in Grand Haven. The biggest one was a house called Purgatory, hideout kind of out in the middle of the country near Constantine, Michigan, that had a ton of crazy rumors. You know, there was a boxing ring built for Joe Louis to fight in, and there were alligator pits in the woods, and they would dump bodies in the swampy areas, and none of that's substantiated, but it's all, you know,
fun to talk
it's
about
the
the
rumors.
rumors.
Right, exactly.
But amid all the tales, there is some truth.
One of the oldest houses in the county, which is currently the Newaygo Bed and Breakfast, was owned by his lawyer. His lawyer had a family connection to the area.
And that's for fact.
Yes,
We
yep.
know that. Okay.
Yep.
The biggest one that documents his presence was actually right across the street at what used to be the hotel.
Right, yep. The River Valley Inn stood there from about the 1880s until it burned down in 1991. There was a bar in the basement called the Snake Pit that was kind of a watering hole for a lot of local celebrities. Al Capone being one, Henry Ford being another. Yeah, it was there in the basement of the hotel.
And a chunk of that bar still exists today, nestled in the corner of Newaygo Brewing Company next door. And in the basement of that
So you
building,
got a whole bunch of crazy stuff.
more chapters of the story.
You have the old window and door for the street access. Though people nowadays like to say that it's part of, you know, like this one right here.
And even though most people might have been afraid of a man like Mr. Capone, things were different in Newaygo County.
You know, he was infamous, but, you know, people still, oh, it's a celebrity. We live in this little town and way out in the country, we don't ever see any celebrities, so.
So this is cool for them, and based on the rumors that I've read about, sounds like he treated people here very well, and because of that, when he was arrested in 1931, there was a protest. People were upset
Right.
that he was going to be locked up.
Well, yeah, and when he was here, he was known to be a generous tipper, so that also helps too.
That would make me
Right.
like someone a little bit more as
Right.
well.
Capone's reign came to an end after just 7 years,
Mr. Capone will be Mr. 40,886.
getting cut short after his conviction, but not before he carved a cut so deep that it left a scar on the face of society, especially in West Michigan.
How cool is it for you as someone who's very knowledgeable and very interested in history to understand that someone like Al Capone was possibly not just here in Newaygo County, but right across the street from where we're standing right now?
This is currently the busiest intersection in Newaygo County, so it's really cool to know that a figure like that was kind of a folk hero of the era was popular here in
I guess they still like him. They're still honking for him.
all right, yes.
Perfect. Well, even though I now have more official documentation of my time in Newaygo County than Al Capone, it's still pretty cool to think that someone like him could have been right here in West Michigan, and now you know.